everyone, welcome back to another fun-filled and information-packed lesson of actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 362, and today let's talk about mental health 2 and focus on psychotropic medicine. For those of you that tuned in our previous lesson, I did give you an idea of what today's lesson is going to be on. Now, a lot of people, students, adults, a lot of us tend to be under a lot of stress at times, feel worried, feel nervous at times. But if this continues, we may have to go on medication, meaning take medication. So we'll be talking about those types of medicines or medication that people take to help them feel a lot better. Mentally, okay, usually, more than physically. So if you're ready, let's begin with today's conversation. It's time for Actual Talk.
Obviously, with being a teacher, I see a lot of my students, my older students, who are struggling through middle school and high school. I'm seeing now more and more kids on antidepressant drugs, tablets and prescription drugs, rather, to help them get through anxiety and stress. Is that something that's quite popular in the US?
I think I think we do give a lot of medication, whether it be for attention deficit disorder or anxiety or depression. I think there are a lot of children and adults that are medicated, and I think a little bit too much. I think there's definitely situations where it's appropriate, but I think we're over-medicating.
Yeah, in the UK it's a lot different. Like, I've had friends in the past who suffered from depression or anxiety or ADD, ADHD, and it's much more of a holistic approach.
Okay.
Getting in tune with nature, finding different ways to cope with that anxiety.
Right, and that's the thing. I think if you're medicated, the solution shouldn't just be a pill.
Yeah.
I think the pill should kind of be your springboard for, okay, this is going to be my jump start to start developing new coping mechanisms for life, reassessing whether it's through seeing a therapist or a counselor, reassessing how you're spending your time and where you're investing yourself so that you can kind of create a better life for yourself. The answer isn't the pill.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. It shouldn't be something that numbs your senses. It should allow you to see what you want to do in terms of coping.
And make some positive change.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, welcome back everyone. Did you have a difficult time understanding the conversation? It's okay, you are not alone. In today's actual talk conversation between Mary and Martin, yes, we were able to find or hear a few difficult words, okay, and phrases and idioms, but I will help you through them, so hold your worries. Now, first of all, Martin begins by talking about how he teaches students, and he says, being a teacher, I see a lot of my students. And he talks about his older students this time, okay? He usually talks about his little students, perhaps in kindergarten or elementary school, but he's talking about older students. Students that are struggling through middle school and high school. Okay, so we're talking about what? Middle school and high school students. Now, he says, and I'm seeing now more and more kids on antidepressant drugs, tablets, and prescription drugs to help them get through anxiety and stress. So here we've got a vocab word and a pattern that we'll go through today. Let's take a look at this sentence beginning with and. He says, and I'm seeing now more and more kids on antidepressant drugs. People can be on medication, which means that you are taking medicine, okay? We don't eat medicine, we take medicine and we can be on medication. Same here, you can be on a certain type of drug, okay? But here we've got antidepressant drugs. Anti. Now, this is usually used to form an adjective to describe that something is meant to destroy or to prevent something. So, this drug is taken to prevent depression, okay? And that's what we call antidepressant drugs. So if people are having anxiety problems, feeling very nervous, okay, and stressed all the time, they can perhaps take antidepressant drugs, or they can be on antidepressant drugs to make them feel better. Anyhow, they can take tablets, which is a type of medication, okay? It's a type that we usually swallow. They're very small. They're compressed powder types. And what about prescription drugs? Now, doctors usually prescribe medication, right? In that case, we would call those types of medicines or drugs prescription drugs. Why do they take these types of drugs? To help them get through anxiety and stress. Okay. Now, anxiety and stress. Anxiety is what? It's that feeling of nervousness and worry. And we all know what stress means. But what does to get through mean? Of course, it means to go through something, to experience. But here, it means to, I guess, win over, okay? So if you get through stress, you are saying bye-bye to stress. We'll be going over that a little bit later on, okay? So now you have an understanding of what he's talking about. Martin is talking about how he sees many of his middle and high school students taking, or those kids on, antidepressant drugs to help them get through anxiety and stress. Okay, let's move on. Is that something that's quite popular in the US? So this time he's asking Mary about how things are in the States. She says, I think, US. In the US, we do give a lot of medication. Okay? For what reasons? Whether it be for attention deficit disorder or anxiety or depression. So these are the reasons that people are on certain types of medication. Attention deficit disorder is also often referred to as ADD, attention deficit disorder, okay? Now, deficit is basically lack of or a shortage of something. It also means disadvantage, okay? But you are unable to focus on something, concentrate on something, okay? Usually, this affects kids, I understand, okay? We'll be going over that vocab word later on, okay? And find out how it is pronounced differently in British English and American English as well. So a lot of kids in the States are on medication for these types of reasons. I think there are a lot of children and adults who are medicated, okay, which means they are taking medication. Now, Mary did say who, but I added that. All right. Now, the reason is because who and that can be used, okay, in different situations. I would say usually if you're referring to a person, who would be much more commonly used. If you're talking about an object, things, for example, that is often used as well as which. So you can choose whichever you want to. She says, I think there are definitely situations where it's appropriate, okay? It's needed, it's appropriate, it's okay, but I think we're over medicating, which means what? Okay. It means that maybe doctors are giving too many people medication for too many reasons, too easily, okay, when they don't really have to take medication or be on medication. So she's saying, yeah, I think we are over medicating, meaning taking too many drugs when we don't really need to take those. In the UK, let's talk about the UK. It's a lot different. I've had friends in the past, once again, who, or that is possible, suffered from depression or anxiety. Here we go, ADD, okay? We did take a look at that. Attention deficit disorder and ADHD, very similar disorders. And it's much more of a holistic approach. Okay, so we're talking about medication that is outside of the mainstream scientific medication. Okay, it's usually nutritional, I guess. All right, we'll be going over that. Holistic also means wholesome. Okay, I'll give you an example of some synonyms, okay, that you can use in place of holistic. Anyhow, he says it's much more of a holistic approach. Getting in tune with nature. These things are much more of a holistic approach. Not taking medication, but rather getting in tune with nature. Kind of relating with nature, okay? Being in tune with something means to be in agreement with something. So if you're in tune with nature, you are in agreement with nature, meaning being comfortable, okay? Right, letting nature help you and finding different ways to cope with, deal with that anxiety. So once again, he's saying, I think it's a better approach, a holistic approach to kind of try to cure yourself, get out there, relate to, kind of connect with nature instead of taking medication. Right, and that's the thing, Mary says. I think if you're medicated, okay, the solution shouldn't just be a pill. A pill is also a type of medication, okay? Now, drugs come in all different forms. We talked about tablets. You can talk about pills, capsules, okay? These are things that we often just swallow along with a liquid. Anyhow, I think the pill should kind of be your springboard for, okay, this is going to be my jump start to start developing new coping mechanisms for life. So we've got many words here, okay? We've got mechanism as well as springboard, and also a pattern we'll be going over, jump start. Springboard is what? Okay, something, like imagine a springboard. What is a springboard? You can go to a swimming pool and there can be a diving board. Imagine a diving board or any kind of board with springs on the bottom. It'll help you bounce up, right? It'll help you bounce up and down. Once you step on it, you can jump up and down on it. So if something is a springboard, it means that it is the beginning of something or something that causes something to happen. So it can be a springboard for, okay, this is going to be my jump start to start developing new coping mechanisms for life. So it can be something that kind of gives you the energy to think, okay, this will be my jump start. You can jump start something. We often say that we jump start an engine of a car. Normally, commonly, that's to start the engine, okay? But when you jump start something, you are kind of enlivening something, reviving something, giving life to something again, especially when it's been kind of sluggish, okay? So we can use many different methods or means to do this. So basically she's saying a pill should be something very simple, not something to rely on for a very long time, but perhaps something that can get you started, okay? Something that can give you that boost, that energy to get started, okay? Moving on, reassessing whether it's through seeing a therapist or a counselor. Oftentimes when you have trouble, you can go visit a therapist or you can also talk to a counselor. But reassess means what? Reassess means to think over something, all right? So you can reassess a problem or something, which means to think about it again to decide whether you will do it or not, whether it will happen or not. So reassess. Re means again, so you are thinking about something again before you make a decision. Reassessing how you're spending your time and where you're investing yourself. So you can think about these things, how you're spending your time. You can also think again about where you're investing yourself, okay? so that you can create a better life for yourself. It's all about creating a better life for yourself, right? And she says once again, the answer isn't the pill. Meaning you should not rely on pills or drugs, but rather look at the different things you can do to try to cure yourself. Definitely, Martin agrees. It shouldn't be something that numbs your senses. Numb. If something numbs your senses, it means that you can't feel anything, okay? We often go to the dentist to have our teeth pulled out, right? In that case, the dentist will numb our gum, okay? Which means the doctor will give us a shot so that we won't feel anything in our gums when they pull out our teeth or tooth. So numb your senses. It should allow you to see what you want to do in terms of coping. And make some positive change. That's right, you can make some positive change as well. So these two seem to agree on this, that drugs, pills, tablets, whatever it is, isn't the answer, okay? There are plenty of other things you can do, other methods, other mechanisms, other means that you can look to perhaps, well, cure yourself when it comes to, curing those anxious feelings, anxiety, or even stress. So let's not all just turn to drugs, everyone. Okay, with that understanding, let's take a listen to the actual talk conversation one more time.
Obviously, with being a teacher, I see a lot of my students, my older students, who are struggling through middle school and high school. I'm seeing now more and more kids on antidepressant drugs. Tablets and prescription drugs, rather,
right.
To help them get through anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
Is that something that's quite popular in the US?
I think I think we do give a lot of medication, whether it be for attention deficit disorder or anxiety or depression. I think there are a lot of children and adults that are medicated, and I think a little bit too much. I think there's definitely situations where it's appropriate, but I think we're over-medicating.
Yeah, in the UK it's a lot different. Like, I've had friends in the past who suffered from depression or anxiety or ADD, ADHD, and it's much more of a holistic approach.
Okay.
Getting in tune with nature, finding different ways to cope with that anxiety.
Right, and that's the thing. I think if you're medicated, the solution shouldn't just be a pill.
Yeah.
I think the pill should kind of be your springboard for, okay, this is going to be my jump start to start developing new coping mechanisms for life, reassessing whether it's through seeing a therapist or a counselor, reassessing how you're spending your time and where you're investing yourself so that you can kind of create a better life for yourself. The answer isn't the pill.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. It shouldn't be something that numbs your senses. It should allow you to see what you want to do in terms of coping.
And make some positive change.
Yeah, definitely.
Here we go, it's time for actual expressions. Are you ready for the vocab words and the patterns? Okay, here we go with antidepressant, okay? As I told you, you can say antidepressant or antidepressant. It's your choice, but I say antidepressant. The point is to stress, press. Here we go, 2 times. Antidepressant, antidepressant. This is a synonym you could use, psychic energizer. Of course, it's not formal, but you could make use of that word, okay? So, psychic energizer could be used as a synonym for antidepressant. We're talking about that substance that's usually used for mood disorders to help you feel better, okay? What about deficit? Here we go. You can say deficit or deficit. Now, especially in British English, the stress goes right there on deficit, okay? Deficit, deficit. So we're talking about a shortfall, a shortage or a lack of something. Moving on to holistic. Here we go. Stress goes right there. Holistic. Now, when it comes to holistic, we're saying that the whole of something, it's about the idea that the whole of something is more important than the sum of little parts of it. Or also when we're talking about medicine, okay, in medical terms, we're saying that it is outside of the mainstream scientific medicine or medication that usually involves nutritional values, okay? So we're talking about something that's rather healthy. That's why now we've got wholesome and healthy as a synonym, but integrated is another synonym as well. Holistic can be used in different situations. Springboard. Think of a diving board if you can't remember the meaning of springboard, okay? Something that makes something possible to happen. It can also mean the beginning point of something. Mechanism, simply put, it means technique, procedure, means, or method. Keep in mind, stress goes right there on the first syllable. Let's do it 2 times. Mechanism, mechanism, and reassess. Here we go. Stress goes right there. Reassess. Reassess basically means to think about something, okay? Think about something again before you decide whether you will make changes to something or not, or whether you will change your opinion about something or not, okay? Often it could mean to estimate, also to calculate, especially when you're talking about money. So here are some synonyms as well. Review would be a good synonym. Okay, moving on to get through. Get through. Get through means to go through something. It can also mean to survive something. Okay, here we go with a sample sentence. I didn't think I'd get through the day alive. What am I saying here? I did not think I would get through the day alive. In other words, I didn't think I would survive the day alive. We're saying it was a very, very difficult day. It was a very long day, for instance. Moving on to in tune with someone or even something. It means to be in agreement, okay? We talked about being in tune with nature today. Here we go. She was never in tune with the company's policies, which means she always disagreed. She was not happy with the company policies. So she was never in tune with the company's policies. She was never in agreement with the company's policies. And moving on to our final one, to jumpstart. This we're talking about reinvigorating something, okay? Giving it that energy, that boost. So here we go. What's a good way to jumpstart weight loss? What's a good way to jumpstart weight loss? Usually when you're sluggish. Usually when something is very, it's not very active, it's kind of sluggish or it's been sluggish and you want to start something again, give it some energy, that boost, you can use jumpstart. What's a good way to jumpstart weight loss? Okay, everyone, please do practice these patterns and vocab words more on your own. Job well done.
I don't know, it might be a cultural thing or something like that, but I don't think people here in Korea are as open to discussing things such as depression. So it's something that they tend to hide because it's something that they're ashamed of. And due to this, I think that they seek professional help a little bit later. A lot of people around those people with depression aren't able to hone in on the key factors that have led up to the depression and aren't able to see the signs that someone is in need of help. So when they end up seeking help, it's a little bit too late and they're really, really down in the pits. So I think this needs to be drawn to the surface. It needs to be put out in the open a lot more so that people are able to seek help more freely and aren't so ashamed of doing so.
Welcome back, everyone. It's now time for our final segment, Actual Story. Joanne helped us out. She's from Australia, and she began by mentioning that it could be a cultural thing, okay? Could be different depending on each country and each culture, but definitely she said that she doesn't think people here in Korea are as open to discussing things such as depression, meaning they don't really feel comfortable talking about depression with other people. So let's check out what else she has mentioned. She says it's something that they tend to hide. We're talking about depression, everyone. Why? Because it's something that they're ashamed of. They don't want to talk about depression with other people because they're ashamed of talking about it. They want to hide it, keep it secret. So when they end up seeking help, looking for help, asking for help, it's a little bit too late. That's right. Because they don't tell people, they don't talk to people, they don't express their problems, show their problems, so people don't know. And eventually, it'll be too late. Moving on, it needs to be put out in the open, needs to be talked about more, okay? So that people are able to seek help more freely. So this is the point. It's all about seeking help, getting help, going to a counselor, okay? Just getting some professional help is the most important thing. If you have problems, if you're depressed, nothing's wrong with you. You need to let people know around you. Okay, job well done. Let's take a listen to it one more time.
I don't know, it may be a cultural thing or something like that, but I don't think people here in Korea are as open to discussing things such as depression. So it's something that they tend to hide because it's something that they're ashamed of. And due to this, I think that they seek professional help a little bit later. A lot of people around those people with depression aren't able to hone in on the key factors that have led up to the depression and aren't able to see the signs that someone is in need of help. So when they end up seeking help, it's a little bit too late and they're really, really down in the pits. So I think this needs to be drawn to the surface. It needs to be put out in the open a lot more so that people are able to seek help more freely and aren't so ashamed of doing so.
I think that Joanna's pointed out some wonderful points in her response. In the end, she did say that it's nothing to be ashamed of. Let people know, especially family and your close friends, if you are having depression problems. You should always let people know you're having problems so that they can help you, okay? So I hope that you learned a lot through today's lesson. Next time, I'll join you back and talk about mental health part 3, and we'll talk about psychotherapy, how we can actually go to get counseling, okay, and get some professional help. We'll focus on that. In the meantime, come to our homepage, everyone. Come on over to www.ebse.co.kr. Look for Actual English with Jennifer. And if you have any thoughts you want to share, post them up on our message board. Okay, that is all for today, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you again next time. Until then, take care and bye for now.